So welcome to the third episode of Strength Training Theory. Now the third episode of Strength Training Theory is about the different types of progressive overload, because I do not care what anyone is saying to you, progressive overload is everything. If everything is dialed down, then your progressive overload is causing your gains, it's causing your muscle gains, and it's causing, therefore, the muscle gains being an adaptation to increase the muscle's work capacity over that 2-week period, right? So what exactly are the most potent forms of progressive overload if the exercise is the same, right? Now this assumes that you have the same exercise selection. Let's say you're doing a squat. What is the strongest form of progressive overload towards building muscle mass? Okay, let's say you're doing 20 kilograms, 3 sets of 8. The strongest form of progressive overload is increasing strength, right? And by strength, I mean increasing the weight on the bar. Therefore, the strength output for every rep. The most effective way to increase the muscle's work capacity is simply to put more weight on the bar. Okay? So the first and most effective form of progressive overload is weight. Okay. When you cannot increase the weight, the second most effective form of progressive overload is the number of reps you can do for a fixed number of sets. I put for one set, but for any fixed number of sets, if you increase the total number of reps, but especially over one set. The third most effective form of progressive overload, when the first two are not feasible, is to increase the total number of reps by increasing the number of sets. So if you go from 3 sets of 5 to 4 sets of 4, that went from the total reps being 15 to the total reps being 16. That's a form of progressive overload. Okay? Or you could go from 3 sets of 5 and then add in another set of 2 at the end, and then 3 sets of 5, add another set of 3. That's how I'd recommend it. Okay? There's two ways. You can take the previous number of reps, divide them along the bigger number of sets, add one more rep, and then add another rep total. Or you could take the previous number of reps and sets and then add a smaller set at the very end. Both of those I'd recommend. Okay, when you're adding total reps, and by reps total, I actually mean more sets. So the third most effective form of progressive overload is to increase the number of sets of that exercise within the same time, or even within the same workout. More sets per workout of the exercise is the third most effective form of progressive overload. The fourth most effective form of progressive overload, although a lot of people would say this is third or second, but it depends on how bad your form has become. But cleaning up your form, if it's just a little bit bad, is the fourth most effective form of progressive overload. Now, of course, if your form is or always was very bad, it might even be the second most effective form. I don't think it's ever as effective as just increasing the weight on the bar or of the dumbbells or whatever. But yes, it's at worst the fourth most effective form of progressive overload. Now, muscles in the body doesn't really get injured as easily as people seem to say. Okay? But just clean it up. Maximize the range of motion. The biggest aspect of form is stability and range of motion. Stable movements with a big range of motion, ability to build most muscle. Right? So, cleaner form, its aspects are stability and range of motion. Okay. Now the fifth most potent form of progressive overload is less rest. Think of it. 3 sets of 10, 2 minutes rest in between. 3 sets of 10, 1.5 minutes rest. 1 minute rest, half a minute rest, no rest. What happened when it's 3 sets of 10 with no rest? That's the same as doing a single set of 30. You are stronger when you can do a single set of 30 with the same weight as compared to when you can do 3 sets of 10. So like maybe a single set of 12 with that weight. So